Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. First, the headlines. His Highness Syed Fahd bin Mahmoud Al Saeed chairs a meeting of the High Committee for Conferences. The Public Authority for Radio and Television documents Omani maritime history by reinventing one of the most important voyages of the ship Sultana. The Ministry of Manpower signs 19 agreements for the training of around 400 job seekers at various training institutions. And the second Anti-Corruption in Projects Management Conference introduces the types and forms of corruption and methods of combating them. Those were the headlines, and now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has received a cable of thanks from Her Excellency President Marie-Louise Claro-Breca of Malta in reply to His Majesty's cable of greetings on her country's independence anniversary. The High Committee for Conferences today held a meeting chaired by His Highness Syed Fahd bin Mahmoud Al Saeed, Deputy Prime Minister for the Council of Ministers and Chairman of the Committee, with the presence of Their Highnesses and Excellencies, members of the Committee. Within the context of the attention of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos to support March of Cooperation Council and strengthening joint Gulf action, the High Committee for Conferences viewed a number of topics related to economic, social, cultural and security aspects and the views of countries towards them. The meeting views outcomes reached by specialised ministerial committees of recommendations forwarded to Their Majesties and Highnesses, the leaders of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries, in their 35th meeting due to be held in Doha in the state of Qatar. The committee also addressed the economic situation in the region after the sudden decrease of oil prices and its effects on rates of economic and social growth. On the other side, the committee acquainted with recommendations related to steps of implementing decisions which had been reached earlier and efforts exerted to complete them due to their importance in speeding up performance. It also dealt with contents of consultative body views towards issues it studied after it was assigned by the Supreme Council and aimed to enhance manpower development, activate and encourage tourism and other matters of concern to peoples of the region. The committee viewed steps proposed to activate youth participation in Council's March, education and health issues, and with regard to strategic Gulf negotiations and discussions with countries and big economic groupings and international organisations. The High Committee for Conferences discussed aspects of activating these steps in this regard in order to reach desired cooperation. The State Council in its ordinary session today approved traffic law referred to it by the Shura Council with induction of some amendments to the law. The Council had formed a special committee to draft the agreed points in 2 sessions regarding traffic law amendments. The session also approved a number of issues presented by some committees to be studied during the 4th annual convening of the 5th term, such as project presented by Economic Committee and related to rationalising spending of light of challenges facing the general budget of the state, especially with oil prices decreasing. The session also discussed issues presented by Social Committee, such as reviewing legislations, organising wastewater and water contamination, besides organising a list of marriage from abroad, in addition to reality of sports clubs in the Sultanate, and topics such as reviewing legislations, organising employment and human resource management in the private sector. With the aim of highlighting Oman's maritime history in media, the Public Authority for Radio and Television worked on documenting one of the most important historical voyage for the ship Sultana through a 2-day specialised seminar. The seminar discussed through work papers 3 aspects related to the era of Syed Saeed bin Sultan and the motives for the voyage and the agreement based on the available documents in order to crystallise scientific ideas to provide documentary footage vision for the trip. The inauguration of the seminar was presided over by His Excellency Dr. Abdullah bin Nasser al-Harasi, Chairman of the Public Authority of Radio and Television, who said that the agreement and Sultana voyage formed important points to create documented and drama work. He added that the production of this work took scientific way through gathering specialized researchers on that period and at Sultana ship voyage to New York. The Ministry of Manpower signed 19 agreements for the training of around 400 job seekers at various training institutions. The agreements cost more than 1.57 million Omani riyals. The ministry pointed out that the number of trainees which joined the training program, coupled with employment, amounted to 3,000 citizens since the beginning of the year. Agreements were signed by His Excellency Sheikh Abdullah bin Nasser al-Bakri, Minister of Manpower. In order to enhance economic, commercial and service relations between the Sultanate and Spain, Oman Chamber of Commerce and Industry signed Economic Memorandum of Understanding with Spain Chamber of Commerce and Industry. The signing came while a delegation of Omani entrepreneurs visited a number of Spanish service facilities, namely metro stations, subways and other facilities, to review Spanish experience and get acquainted with their economic activities, in addition to hold commercial partnerships between the two countries. The visit included a number of introductory programs, visual shows for economic facilities in Spain in order to enhance fields of economic cooperation and facilitate trading deals to enrich aspects of investment cooperation. In the Iranian capital Tehran, works of the 10th Conference of Islamic Ministers of Information started today and will last for 2 days. The meeting aimed to strengthen joint media cooperation among Islamic countries, develop cooperation in media covering events and activities in these countries in order to achieve public interest and not to be drawn by news that offends the Islamic nation, and to work towards enhancing peace and security. The conference discusses the role of media means in facing extremism and to spread awareness in the Islamic world to prepare for challenges, in addition to discussing numerous information matters of concern to the Islamic countries. The Sultanate's delegation participating in the conference is being led by His Excellency Ali bin Khalfan al-Jabri, Under-Secretary of the Ministry of Information. His Excellency Ali bin Khalfan al-Jabri, Under-Secretary of the Ministry of Information, made a statement in which he said Sultanate's participation in the 10th Conference of Information Ministers of Islamic Organization came from Sultanate's keenness to enhance media march in the Islamic countries, and the Sultanate supports inclinations called for by the conference, which calls for peace, closeness and integrity. The Sultanate is a country continuously calling for peace, dialogue and all means which lead to stability in this region, the Arab world and the Islamic world, and to convey correct voice and concept from the region to the world. The second Anti-Corruption in Projects Management Conference started under the patronage of His Excellency Sheikh Abdul Malik bin Abdullah al-Khalili, Minister of Justice. The two-day conference, which was organized by Oman Wastewater Services Company, Haya Water, will focus this year on the introduction of the types and forms of corruption and methods of combating them, particularly in relation to projects management. His Excellency Minister of Justice said that the government of the Sultanate is directly concerned to address this file, and it spares no effort in that direction through its investigation into the relevant issues and then the trials. But the greatest responsibility lies with the community. He pointed out that such conferences are a good indicator to stop such issues that may occur in some occasions. A forum entitled In Love for Qaboos was held in the Walaya of Nakhl to express feelings of loyalty and gratitude to the builder of Oman's Renaissance, His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, the beloved leader. It witnessed a huge attendance from members of the society. The forum came to stress on the role of the youth in instilling patriotism values. During the event, the Nakhl fort witnessed Omani traditional arts, and some locals made handicrafts famous in the Walaya. At the end, the participants were honoured. Still to come in our news bulletin. A fine arts exhibition was held in the Walaya of Bahla. back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The Oman Chamber of Commerce and Industry in the Governorate of Musandam held an introductory seminar on services provided by a Rafad Fund. It will assist and support youth to establish their own projects and benefit from flexible progress loans and other related advantages. The lecturers at the seminar pointed out that a Rafad Fund aims to support various categories, namely job seekers, craftsmen, rural women and others. The fund's strategy is to support small and medium-sized sector entrepreneurs and to contribute in providing job opportunities as well as finance other projects. His Excellency Ibrahim Al-Ghababsha, head of Parliamentary Fraternity Committee from the Senate Council of Jordan, and his delegation visited Sultan's Armed Forces Museum. They acquainted with historical manuscripts and models that reflected diverse architectural arts at Beit al-Falaj Fort. They also listened to a briefing on development attained to Sultan's Armed Forces under the wise leadership of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces. General Federation of Oman Trade Unions celebrated in its premises the honouring of 20 oldest women working in the private sector. The honouring came from the belief of the importance of working women and the role they played in pushing the wheel of growth and development side by side with men. The honorees stressed the importance of this honouring as an incentive to achieve further progress and success towards upgrading work in the private sector. The first shooting competition was concluded in the Wilaya of Ibri at the Governorate of Dhahra. It witnessed a participation from shooters in the Wilaya. The competition came to enhance their capabilities in this field while aiming to achieve advanced positions and to preserve this deep-rooted sport. The idea is to focus the weapons on the target and shoot from a distance. After that, the points are evaluated. At the end, the winners of the first places were honoured. A fine arts exhibition was held in the Wilaya of Bahla. It was organised by Al-Ma'amura School for Basic Education to highlight the skills and capabilities of the students in this field. It included more than 80 portraits that were displayed at Bahla Fort. The colourful paintings were derived from the Omani environment, nature and civilization. It witnessed an attendance by members of the society. The participants expressed that such events encourage and motivate the youth towards the fine arts field. Now for the general weather forecast. Clear skies will prevail over the Sultanate with chances of clouds over Hajar Mountains and coastal areas of the governorates of North and South Sharqiya and Worcester. Winds will be northerly to northwesterly light to moderate along most of the governorates and active in the governorates of Musandam, Dhahra and Dakhiliya. Seas will be moderate to rough along the coast of Sea of Oman, governorates of Dhafar and western coasts of the governorate of Musandam, with a maximum wave height of 3 metres. Along the rest of the coast it will be slight to moderate with a maximum wave height of 1.75 metres. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. His Highness Syed Fahd bin Mahmoud Al Saeed chairs a meeting of the High Committee for Conferences. The Public Authority for Radio and Television documents Omani maritime history by reinventing one of the most important voyages of the ship Sultana. The Ministry of Manpower signs 19 agreements for training around 400 job seekers at various training institutions. And the second Anti-Corruption in Projects Management Conference introduces the types and forms of corruption and methods of combating them. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.